plaintiff, Larry Horton, says in the 80s he was a crack addict and he dated the defendant's mother. Larry claims they had 4 children before he learned she was prostituting. So Larry petitioned the court for a paternity test for 2 of his children. Defendants Brenda Horton and her brother Jason Horton admit their mother was a prostitute and their childhood was terrible. Brenda and Jason say Larry is the only dad they've ever known, so they hope the DNA test proves he is their father.
And you all are here to determine the paternity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And specifically whether you're the dad of
Yes, sir.
these 2 fine young folks? All right, let's start with you and find out how this came about.
Well, because I was in the 80s, I was a crack addict. I was a rock star, you know what I mean? I was getting high, and I was riding down the road, and I seen this nice looking woman walking.
So you were riding down the road
Yes,
and
sir.
saw a rock?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
I would have picked it up if I did. No.
There's no question about that. Go
But I've
ahead.
been clean for 15 years, but let me put that.
Good.
And we started a relationship. I pulled over. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "What are you doing? You want to go have some party?" I said, "Yes, let's go." So went and did some partying. And then one thing led to another. She gave me a story that she had no place to go. Her mother threw her out of the house. So I said, "Well, come on home to my house with me. We'll go there and party at my house." So we did. So it ended up in a relationship. And then 4 kids evolved. Well, the whole time she was prostituting behind my back.
Prostituting?
Yes, sir.
Was she addicted to crack as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And I didn't know she was prostituting behind my back because I would go to work and she would have men come in my house, which my kids later told me happened.
But you'd have a rock when you came home with
No, I went to work.
a couple of rocks.
Sometimes, yes.
I mean-
I've got a lot to tell the truth. Yes, I was the rock star.
Ain't
Yes.
so much for. You come home, you got some rocks sitting there, y'all
Yep.
fire it up. So my brother's house one time years ago, there was a guy in the 80s, and the guy was walking around looking around. I said, "Did you lose it, sir? Did you lose a diamond or something?" He said, "No." And he said, "There goes something." And he runs back in the room. So I wonder what I said, "Sir, what is, I'm just curious, what is it that you found?" "Well, I thought it was a rock, but it was cotton."
Right.
That's great. I said, "You smoking it anyway?" "Well, hey, ain't no telling. It's mind over matter."
Right. And you know John's massive.
Think you get high
smoking
thinking
stuff,
you got a rock.
You ain't going to drop nothing on the floor, you know what I mean? I didn't anyway. You're not going to drop nothing, but you think you do. You always hope you can find a piece on the floor. Look at people at the windows, make sure nobody's coming in. But hey, them days were over with.
Did you all abandon the children like
No,
most
sir.
crack
What
addicts
happened
do?
was she had met a Baltimore City police officer and he used his influence as a police officer to tell the courts that I was physically abusive to her and the children, and which gave her an ex parte, which gave her custody of the kids automatic.
Okay.
Okay, when she got custody of the kids, her and her mother then took my children down to social services and turned them in.
She took
Right.
custody and put them in foster care.
Yes, sir. And I had went, and their mother's sister had called me, said, "Larry, Mom and Brenda's turning the kids in." So I went down to social services and walked in the door and took them out and put them in my car and took them back to my house. I was unprepared because I was still getting high.
Correct.
I didn't have the right home for them. So I moved in with her sister, her mother's sister, which had like 5 kids. And then she called and said it was an improper home, so they took them back again. And then told them I was, and when they get them back again, they told me I couldn't get them because it was of the abuse charge and the drugs. And I said, "Well, there's no physical abuse, never been arrested for that. No drug charge, can you prove it?" They kept them anyway. And there was 4 children. The oldest sister, their sister, got adopted by a family. And she wanted me to sign my parental rights away so she could adopt them, and I wouldn't do it. But the mother signed her parental rights away to all the kids, all 4 of them. And I fought for custody. And I was trying to get Brenda and her other sister, and I tried to get them all. But they were all separated, which was bad because they don't know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I hear you talk, I watch your show all the time, I know you talk about, you know what I'm talking about, definitely.
I've seen it 1,000 times.
Exactly. Kept fighting for them. And they made them go through spousal classes, anger management, abuse classes. Every time I went to court, I got a different judge. So one time I got a lawyer. I said, "Look, I got to get my kids. I want them back." So he kept fighting. So you got a shot. And I was still getting high. I would go see her on a bus, catch 3 buses before I had a car, high on crack to see my daughter. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying that's how bad I was. There's a lot of people out there that's like that. Don't do it, man. I'm telling you guys, don't do it, because you're going to regret it.
When did you stop in the crack?
I've been clean. Well, my daughter was, I got custody of Brenda when she was like 14.
The country was flooded with crack cocaine in the 80s.
But the first
took a whole generation, which affected them. But let's see how things worked out for you all. Give me some background.
Yeah, I was in foster care. I got turned in when I was 3 years old. I was in there for 11 years. We were told a whole bunch of lies saying that he didn't want us, he didn't care about us, he was abusive and all that type of stuff. My brother didn't believe it at the time, and I was saying, Jason, like, you know, give it a shot. You know, you don't, we need to, you know, be with our biological, if he is, biological father. So my mother was a runaround. She was doing intercourse with guys.
Where would you all be? Give me an example.
Well, when my dad would go, when he would go to work, that's when it all would happen. So we had a rough life, we did. And I can say one thing about him is he did go to every court date. He, you know, he was there for me, you know, every holiday, birthday, all that time.
Excellent.
That's what and I do hope he is my father.
Excellent.
And if he isn't, nothing's going to change.
Excellent.
Can I interject, Your Honor?
That's a compliment to you.
I got one. Can I add something else, please? Mm-hmm. I was getting high when I was fighting for custody for my daughter, Brenda. I ran in the room, stayed in the crack house. Excuse me a second. I went and got Brenda. Brenda come to my room. We were talking, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, I got high tonight. I woke up Saturday morning and couldn't buy a 50-cent can of soda. I had spent all my money. And I looked in the mirror. Wait a minute. And I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep getting high or you want to fight for your kids? What do you want to do? And I thought to myself, I'm done with this. So I told her and I said, I'm done. Because she don't get high. Thank the Lord, she doesn't do nothing. She hasn't, I mean, I raised her best I could, but she doesn't do no drugs at all. Nothing. And I said, I'm going to get custody of her. That's when I started. I moved. First thing you have to do is get away from all your friends.
You can't see it without having it. Even if you went through recovery, if you come out of 6 months recovery and you see a rock right there, you grab it. I didn't go to nothing.
I did it on my own.
Pardon?
I didn't go to no recovery.
You just stayed away from it.
I did it on my own, yes, sir.
All right. Let me hear from you.
Well, I grew up in foster care around 5 years old. I went in foster care around 5 years old. And I can actually witness that my mom did tell us to go upstairs one day, and she brought a man inside the home and actually had sexual intercourse. I actually seen her do sexual intercourse with the man. So then I went to foster homes, grew from place to place, moving from place to place and stuff like that. Didn't get a good education because I was moving from place to place. And I was in special ed all my life. I got sexually molested by my foster father. I never told nobody until now. So that kind of hurt me. So I turned to drugs. Okay, I started out with marijuana. I did crack cocaine. I graduated from smoking it, and I started shooting it. And I went to heroin, opioids, and I started to shoot it. I've been clean for 2 months now. I'm on the methadone clinic. Good. I'm loving sobriety. I'm living my life now. And I should have took it as a motivation because my parents, and I seen the way drugs did to them and stuff like that. I should have took that as a motivation to make something out of myself. But I chose to do my way and my thinking because
now
as
you're
an
in
addict,
recovery, thank God.
in my stupid way of thinking, my thinking because an addict thinks, well, I didn't care about the fact that my father wanted me back. I didn't care about him loving me the way he wants to love me because I was addicted to drugs. And drugs, that's all I care about was... That's what breakfast, lunch, and dinner was.
There are studies that say it's genetically transferred, the addiction is.
Right.
Many people want to know why we have such a sudden increase in gun violence in the urban areas and killings and shootings. It's because a lot of these young folks they haven't been raised because of the crack epidemic.
Right.
They're unprepared for the workforce. And so that's what we see also in the opioid epidemic. We're going to see more and more of it, children being abandoned in rural areas and suburban areas where it's most dominant. You're going to see a lot of that in the next 10 years, I promise you.
Yes, sir.
All right, the DNA, you are questioning it. Why then? How did that come up?
The mother says they're mine, but Your Honor, when you have a girlfriend or spouse, whatever, that sleeps with anybody?
That had this come up 25 years later.
They brought it up. I didn't.
Yeah, we were just wanting to know, that's all, yeah.
Okay.
I'm the only one that has blue eyes. everybody else is brown. My mother, my brother, my
Okay.
sisters.
And by me growing up in the system at the age of 21, I aged out at the age of 21. So I heard all these stories that he wasn't really my father.
So that calls a question.
Right.
Yeah.
And you say it's because of the different colors of the eyes and perhaps
Yeah, it's
other areas.
weird,
Well,
yeah.
let me just suggest to you that genetics skip generations. So
Right.
people need to be aware of that.
Okay.
My father was very dark complected and my grandmother was very light complected.
Right.
So that is the
Yeah.
case in many instances. So let's see whether those blue eyes are a result of him not
There you
being
go.
dead or not.
Yeah.
So we understand that your mom was no nice way to put it.
Nope.
And there's a possibility that as a prostitute, you're the father of both. All right? Yes. There you go. Have a good day.
I feel relieved that they're my children.
I feel great now that I know the facts and stuff.
I'm glad they're my children.
I'm glad to.
Great.